Hey guys, welcome back. And today we're going to be attempting something a little bit new on the channel. So we're going to be doing my college football preview show of the week. Today we're going to be highlighting all of the FBS matchups. Obviously, we'll spend a little bit more time. We're going to talk about my favorite bets of the week, and we're going to be predicting each winner through each game. If this video does well, we will continue it throughout the rest of the college football season, but I wanted to give it a shot. I've had some people recommend it to me throughout the last few episodes, and I thought you guys would enjoy it. So if you guys do, consider hitting that like and subscribe button and leave a comment for me. Let me know what you guys think. But we're starting this off with the first game that kicks off tonight, South Alabama at Appalachian State. App State 2-1. South Alabama is 1-2 right now, coming off a near 100-point showing last week. Don't really think it's going to matter too much here. I think App State is just a little bit better. They're 7.5-point favorites in this game. Joey Aguilar, one of the better group of five quarterbacks in the country. This is a pretty good Mountaineers team, and I am going to take App State to win this first game here. Stanford and Syracuse. Stanford is one of the worst teams in the country to me. I know they're listed at, or they have a record of 1-1, but just a team that I don't have really any confidence in the slightest. I think that the Orange are going to win. Kyle McCord is playing at a Heisman level right now, to be completely honest. He's playing incredible football. I think you got a really good Orange team there in Syracuse with good weapons, a good defense that's playing well, and they're 8.5-point favorites. I think I would smash that minus 8.5 at home in the Carrier Dome. I think Syracuse gets the win. Illinois-Nebraska is quietly my favorite game of the weekend. Nebraska is playing some excellent football right now. They have Dylan Raiola. This team feels completely revitalized under Matt Rule, and they're 7.5-point favorites at home in Lincoln. But Illinois is a scrappy team. They always have good defenses. We've known that for the last few years, but I think the offense is playing pretty good. Luke Altmaier's having a really nice start to the season. You're getting great play from wide receiver Pat Bryant. I think this Illinois team is scrappy. That being said, I am going to take Nebraska at home. I just think they're a little bit too balanced offensively. I think they're going to have a really solid day, and I'm going to take the Cornhuskers. Then we got San Jose State at Washington State. Washington State's at home. They're minus 12-point favorites, but San Jose State minus 12, or Washington State minus 12. I do think I take Washington State to win this game. They just won the Apple Cup. They were number 26 in my rankings. They were right there in that final spot, contending for the top 25. Really do like this Washington State team, but I do think I would take the San Jose State plus 12. I don't think they win the game, but I think it's going to be a very close matchup. I do lean the Cougars, but I will, like I said, don't sleep on the Spartans. NC State Clemson's really interesting. Clemson is 20.5-point favorites. NC State has been very up and down. They lost by 40 points to Tennessee. They were right in the game with West Carolina. This is really Clemson's first real game, I would say. They played Georgia, which I think most people expected them to lose. Then they absolutely blew out App State. So Clemson, a really interesting one here. I like this Tigers team. I think they're playing good. Cade Klubnik had one of his best collegiate games against App State. They're at home. I don't know if the 20.5-point line favors where I lean there, because I think if Clemson plays the way they can, yes, I think they can win by 3 touchdowns. But that line's really high, similar to San Jose State. I'm taking NC State plus 20.5, but I do think that Clemson ultimately wins at home. Then we got Indiana and Charlotte. Don't want to spend too much time here. Charlotte's a team that haven't particularly been following very closely. Indiana's 28.5-point favorites. Give me the Hoosiers. They improved to 4-0, one of the better teams in the Big Ten right now. Florida and Mississippi State, really don't know where to go with this. It kind of depends on what ends up happening. I think if Florida loses this game, there is without any doubt in my mind that Billy Napier will be fired after this one. That being said, though, I do like this Florida team. I think they're talented. Their offensive line's been playing really good. And coming into the year, I thought Mississippi State was going to be the worst team in the SEC. They just got absolutely destroyed by Toledo. Both of these teams are 1-2. I'm going to take the Gators to improve to 2-2 on the season. Like I said, if they lose this game, I think this season is likely over for Florida. Marshall and Ohio State. Well, I think Marshall is quietly an underrated team. And they've got a pretty good pass rush. I think they're well coached, a good offense. They're just not beating a powerhouse like the Buckeyes here. I think this is an easy win. Ohio State's 40-point favorites. Kind of staying away from that one. I didn't mention the betting odds. Florida is 6-point favorites over Mississippi State. I am going to take Ohio State to win that one. Then we're going to move on to Houston and Cincinnati. This is a gimme game. I could see this going either way. I think there's a pick 'em. It's minus 3.5 for Cincinnati. I'm going to lean towards Houston to win this game. I'll just take their money line outright in this one. Donovan Smith, one of the most athletic quarterbacks in the country. While I am not the biggest fan of him as a quarterback, I think they outweigh Cincinnati. This could be interesting, though. Dante Corleone, great run stuff for the team that wants to run the ball there at Houston. But I am going to go with the Cougars to win this one. Then we got another one of my favorite matchups of the week, Tulane and Louisiana. Louisiana is 2-0. In-state rivalry here. I am going to pick Tulane. They are minus 2-point favorites. I do think I would take that line. Tulane's just had a bit of a tough schedule the last couple of weeks. They're 1-2, but they lost to Kansas State and they lost to Oklahoma. Two of their toughest opponents on the season, but this is a team that has been pretty scrappy in all those games. They were right in it with Kansas State. I am a big fan of this Tulane team. I still think they could be in that competition to win the American Conference this year. I'm going to take the Green Wave to go into Louisiana and get the upset. Villanova, FCS football program, not really thinking it's going to be too much of a competition for Maryland. Don't really have the odds on this one at the moment, but I am going to take Maryland to pull off the win. Then we got James Madison in North Carolina. One of the more interesting games of the week. James Madison coming in at 2-0. North Carolina coming in at 3-0. James Madison's a team that has a really solid defensive front. They do a pretty good job at defending against the run. North Carolina is a pretty one-dimensional offense right now. They're 10.5-point favorites, leaning heavily on the back of Omari and Hampton. I do think North Carolina will win this game at home, but I do think James Madison is going to put up a fight. I think it's going to be a really interesting matchup down the line. Give me the Tar Heels. Army and Rice, two teams that pretty interesting. 1-2 Rice, 2-0 Army at the moment. I'm going to take Army to get the win. Not a game that I'm going to have on any of my TVs this weekend. Then we got West Virginia at Kansas. In my opinion, another one of these games of the week. Both teams are 1-2, came into the season with pretty high expectations and have been pretty underwhelming. In Kansas, Jalen Daniels looks like his processing has taken a massive hit from last season. And then a West Virginia team that you really wonder what's going on there. They had a really good running attack. Garrett Green has looked like a fraction of the player we saw for the Mountaineers last year. I think it's going to come down to the defenses. I lean towards West Virginia's defense as a whole. While I think Kansas has a better secondary, I think West Virginia is a little bit more well-rounded. They've got good pieces on both sides of the football. I am going to go with West Virginia, causing Kansas to fall to 1-3. West Virginia is 2.5-point favorites in this game. I think that's a fair line. I'm going to take West Virginia. Kentucky was right in it until the very end with Georgia last week. I feel pretty good about this if I am Kentucky. Ohio lost some pieces on the portal this offseason. They're 2-1, but I think Kentucky is going to pull off the win. Then we got Ball State at Central Michigan. I just trust these MAC schools a little bit more. Ball State having a decent season. They're 1-1, but I think Central Michigan is going to pull off the win. Then we got Virginia at Coastal Carolina. Virginia's 3.5-point favorites on the road. And on the teal turf. Coastal Carolina's 3-0. I don't really know what to make of this Virginia roster. I think they're a solid team, but nothing that really moves me about them at all. I'm actually going to go with Coastal Carolina at home. I think they pull off the win here, improve to 4-0, get an ACC win in there. I feel pretty good about that one. I will take the Coastal Carolina money line. St. Francis at Eastern Michigan. I'm going to take Eastern Michigan here. We're not going to spend too much time on that game. Iowa State at Arkansas State. Iowa State is a top 25 team in the country. Arkansas State has some pieces. They've got some players on their roster that I think people are going to talk about, but I just think the Cyclones are a little bit too too overmatched. Arkansas State was in it with Michigan, but I do like Iowa State to pull off the win here. Then we got Utah State at Temple. I'm going to take the Utah State in this game. I think they're a little bit better. They're 1-2 on the season, lost to Utah. We're kind of in that game for a little bit. Kind of depends on the health of Jalen Royals, but I think they're going to go into Philly and beat the Owls. Then we get Southern Miss at Jacksonville State. Jacksonville State has been one of the worst teams in the country this year, and they're taking on Southern Miss, who's kind of notorious for being one of the worst teams in the country. I am going to take Southern Miss, though. They at least have a win on the resume that I can kind of lean on. Jacksonville State is a team that has been pretty poor and abysmal throughout the first few weeks of the college football season. I'm going to take Southern Miss to win here. Then we got Nevada and Eastern Washington. Nevada is 1-3, but you're taking on an FCS school. I'm going to take the Wolfpack in this one. Then we got Arkansas and Auburn, one of the more fun matchups of week one. Pulling up the lines here if I can find them. Really good Arkansas team. They've had a really good rushing attack this season. I think they're going to be able to pound the football. But you're going in to Auburn, who are 3-point favorites in this one. Arkansas is coming off an ugly loss. I'm actually going to take Arkansas on the road in this game. I don't trust the quarterback play of Auburn. Very inconsistent. I know they had a great performance this past weekend, but don't really trust it. I think the rushing attack of Arkansas could be too much for the Tigers, and I'm going to take the Razorbacks. UCLA, LSU. UCLA is one of the worst Big Ten schools right now. LSU, they're 24-point favorites, and I think they could win by more than that. Notre Dame, Miami, Ohio. I'm going to take Notre Dame. They did struggle against a MAC school relatively recently, 2 weeks ago, but I do think Notre Dame wins. Northern Illinois, I think they beat Buffalo as well. Northern Illinois pulls off the big upset against Notre Dame. They're still ranked in the top 25. I like that. This is kind of where we're getting into some of the blowout territory. I think Memphis beats Navy pretty handedly. One of the best group of 5 teams in all of college football. Really like what the Tigers are doing. I think they win. And then Penn State, I think, blows out Kent State. Pitt, coming off a huge win against West Virginia. I think they dominate Youngstown State. And then Arizona State and Texas Tech, one of the interesting matchups of the week, in my opinion. I like both of these teams quite a bit. Texas Tech is 3-point favorites. Baron Morton has been a very good quarterback for the Red Raiders. But Arizona State is quietly 3-0. They're playing really good football right now in the Big 12. Give me the Sun Devils to go in to Lubbock and pull off the win. Really like what this Arizona State team is doing. They're outperforming what they did last year, and I think they're playing some excellent football. Then we've got USC at the Big House taking on Michigan, one of the games of the week on CBS. USC is 5-point favorites in this game, and I think they pull it off. Miller Moss is doing a heck of a job with this team, taking over for Caleb Williams. But the difference maker is the defense. They're more physical, they're more aggressive, and they're making plays happen. Michigan is going to Alex Orji this season or this week, which could be a difference maker for them. But I think they're going to drop their second game at home. Lost to Texas earlier this year. This is an offense that I'm not moved by. They don't move the ball well. USC has been good against the run this year. I'm going to take the Trojans to beat Michigan. Then we're kind of back into the same territory. UMass, UTSA, pretty easy opponents for them there. I think they both pull off wins. Both of them are heavy favorites. Even though UMass is 0-3, I think you can beat Central Connecticut. UTSA got a favorable matchup there. Georgia Tech and Louisville, another one of my favorite matchups this week. Louisville's playing really well, but you're going up against a pretty balanced Georgia Tech offense. Louisville is 10-point favorites. I don't think they win by double digits in this one, but I do think it's going to be close. I am going to take Louisville. Actually, no, I'm going to take the upset here. I think Georgia Tech pulls off another ACC upset. I just think their offense is playing really good. They're able to run the football effectively. Their only loss came against Syracuse. They're 3-1 on the season. Louisville, I still have a few questions about. I think that the Yellow Jackets come in and upset Louisville on the road. Rutgers and Virginia Tech. Rutgers is 2-0. You're taking on a Virginia Tech team that has struggled. They struggled against Marshall. They lost to Vanderbilt earlier this year. And I think Rutgers is quietly one of the better defensive teams in college football right now. They got a really good run game, and the defensive line of Virginia Tech has struggled. Give me Rutgers. They are plus 3.5 in this game. Duke and Middle Tennessee State, going to take Duke. It's a game I'm considering driving up to go see. Malik Murphy's playing good football right now, and that's kind of what you're hoping for if you are a Duke fan. They are 14.5-point favorites on the road. I like that odds. Utah and Oklahoma State, one of the most exciting games of the college football season. Cam Rising, don't know if he's going to play in this one. Don't really know what his health is looking like. Oklahoma State, they're kind of up and down right now. You feel pretty good about Ollie Gordon, but he's had a bit of a down year. Tough matchup right now. I am going to take Utah, who are 2-point favorites on the road. I think they're going to upset or pull off the win on the road against Oklahoma State. Vanderbilt and Missouri, give me the Tigers. I think Missouri is just playing like one of the best teams in college football right now. They've got a really good run game, great defense that is stifling. They're 20-point favorites at home. I like those odds. TCU, SMU, we're just going to jump the gun here for a second. Give me TCU. SMU's got some weird stuff going on with their quarterback room I don't trust. Been in too many close games early. Give me the Horned Frogs that are playing really good football, by the way. And I'm going to take Colorado State to beat UTEP. UTEP is 0-3, consistently one of the bottom teams there in the FBS. Then we've got FIU, Monmouth. I'm going to take FIU. Not familiar with too many of these teams, but I just don't trust Monmouth. Both of these teams, 1 and 2. I'm going to favor the FBS school in this one. East Carolina, Liberty. While I like East Carolina, I think they're playing some pretty underrated football right now. I think Liberty is going to pull off the win in conference. Just a more balanced team with a little bit more experience. Cal and Florida State. I said this all offseason. Cal was my sleeper in the ACC. We've seen that up to this point. Cal's playing good football. They're 3-0. They're about to be 4-0. I don't trust Florida State at all. I know they're at home. They're 2.5-point favorites. They have shown me nothing, absolutely nothing that leads me to believe that they could be better than where they're at now. Their offense is putrid. Give me California. Louisiana Tech and Tulsa. A pretty fun one here. 2 mid-majors. Louisiana Tech, 1-1. I like their odds there. I'm going to take them to beat Tulsa. Sam Houston State and New Mexico State. Sam Houston's playing really good. New Mexico continues to be one of the bottom teams here. I'm going to take Sam Houston State. Troy, off to a bit of a slow start. They're 0-3. Florida A&M, one of the premier programs in the FCS and HBCU. I'm going to take Florida A&M. I think the Rattlers are going to beat Troy. That's going to be our FCS upset of the week. Florida Atlantic at UConn. UConn is 2.5-point favorites. Just going to lean towards the favorite here. UConn's been in some pretty close games. I kind of like that matchup for them. North Texas and Wyoming. I just don't see a world where Wyoming pulls this off. Just one of the worst teams week in and week out so far this year. And I will lean towards the Eagles. Then we got Miami and South Florida. It's going to be a fun one. I think South Florida can make it close, but I think Miami is just too good right now. They've got one of the most electric offenses, a pass rush that is dynamic. I really, really like the Hurricanes. They're jumping up my rankings each and every week, it feels like. Give me Miami. Northwestern and Washington, really interesting one here. Just going to pull up the spread, kind of see what Vegas thinks of this one. Washington, it's 10.5-point favorites. They're at home. I think I like those odds. Washington coming off a tough loss in the Apple Cup to Washington State. But overall, I think they are the better overall team. Northwestern had a couple of good weeks, but I'm going to take the Huskies. Toledo, after what they just did to Mississippi State, don't really want to bet against the Rockets right now. Give me Toledo over Western Kentucky. Tennessee, Oklahoma. This is going to be the premier game on ABC. Both teams in the SEC. Tennessee is 7-point favorites on the road. I think that line is too low. I think Tennessee should be favored by more. This team is electric. They've got an offense that feels virtually unstoppable. They have played very good teams. They beat NC State. They beat NC State. We talked about. I think they're a lot better than Oklahoma. Oklahoma's first real SEC test. Give me the Volunteers. Akron at South Carolina. I like South Carolina a lot in this game. After what we saw their defense do to LSU, I think South Carolina is going to be a tough team to beat week in and week out. Give me the Gamecocks. Bowling Green, Texas A&M. really good defense for Bowling Green. They always play these FBS teams really close. Texas A&M is 23-point favorites. I think I'm taking Bowling Green plus 23, but I will take Texas A&M to ultimately win this game. Iowa, Minnesota, I'm going to take the Hawkeyes. Their defense just continues to be really good. They're not going to score many points, but they're going to be able to stop Minnesota from scoring. Give me the Hawkeyes. Then we got Georgia Southern and Ole Miss. This to be one of the easiest tests of Ole Miss's season. Boston College and Michigan State. One of the more fun matchups. Michigan State's 3-0. They haven't been exactly electric in those games. Boston College, on the other hand, they're 2-1, and they've been very good. I'm going to take Boston College to pull off this win. Really like this team. They're really good at running the football. They've got pieces that I trust. I'm going to take the Eagles to pull off this win. Baylor and Colorado. Colorado's 1.5-point favorites. I think after what we saw last week, the way that they were able to establish the run, the defense played really well. I'm going to take Colorado in this game. I know everyone loves to hate on Colorado. I'm not one of those people. I think they're a good team. Texas, Louisiana Monroe should be an easy win for Texas. With or without Quinn Ewers, doesn't really matter. Give me Texas, the number 1 team in the country. Oregon State and Purdue. Purdue coming off a brutal loss to Notre Dame. I like Oregon State a little bit more, though. They're playing pretty good football. One of the more surprising teams this year, like what we've seen from the Beavers. Give me Oregon State. Kind of a bit of a home stretch here. New Mexico, Fresno State, give me the Bulldogs, one of the better teams in the Mountain West year in and year out. New Mexico, one of the worst teams in the FBS year in, year out. I'm going to take Fresno State. Give me Ashton Genty, probably his easiest opponent yet at Portland State. I think this could be a really big win for him. Trying to get into that top 25. That loss to Oregon is going to hurt him a little bit, but I do love this Boise State team. Then we got our last 2 matchups, Kansas State, BYU. Both teams are 3-0. Kansas State feels like one of the more overhyped teams. I don't feel impressed by any of their wins. Had a big win against Arizona. I get that. I am going to take Kansas State, but I wouldn't be shocked if they're on upset alert. They are 6.5-point favorites here. And then Northern Iowa and Hawaii, I'm going to take Hawaii. I'm going to lean towards the FBS school, but not a matchup that I have a particular interest in. So if we're talking about the bets that I would be making, the big upsets, I like Georgia Tech this week. I think they're going to pull off a pretty big upset going into Louisville. Really like that. I like Colorado minus 1.5. I think they're going to be a really solid team this week. I think if they win, the hype train is going to be even better than it was last year. I'm trying to go through some of these other bets that I liked. I like Bowling Green plus 23. I don't think Texas A&M is going to blow them out this week. And I like Tennessee minus 7. I think they're one of the more balanced teams in college football. Their defense is playing incredible, and they've got an offense that can score in the snap of a finger. So those are the bets that I really like this week. Let me know what you guys think. Who are the picks this week that you love in the FBS? Love to hear your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. I'll see you guys in the next one. Adios.